Welcome back to Sunday Night Spookies, the podcast dedicated to exploring the mysterious and the spooky unknown. My name is Lex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is episode 15, Aliens, Part 1.
Part 1.
Part 1, Roswell.
Yes. When I think aliens, I think Roswell.
I don't know anything about aliens, nor did I know about Roswell.
Oh, well.
You're weird.
That's an understatement. So if you don't know anything about Roswell, this is going to be a treat. And I want to preface this by saying there is so much more to Roswell than what we're going to talk about. We're going to go like bare minimum basic, because we could do 4 episodes just on Roswell. There's so many people involved, so many documents that were released. It's a lot. So we're going to start with bare minimum.
Yep.
And we're going to ease our way in. And like we said, there's going to be many parts to this alien
mini-series about aliens.
We know in season 3 we're going to go to the UP in Michigan and investigate some Paulding lights with my dad, who's a great guy. He really is convinced that aliens and Bigfoot are real, and we're going to go along with that.
Yeah.
Love you, Dad.
Right.
But we have more alien episodes planned. We're just kind of dipping our feet in the water because this whole podcast dedicated to just aliens.
And Roswell's kind of like what kicked off the craze.
Yeah, the tinfoil hats. I definitely don't have one. So, 1947, July, Roswell, New Mexico. A series of events was triggered by the crash of a military balloon that was launched about a month earlier. The balloon had been launched from the, I'm going to butcher this name, Alamogordo Army Airfield. It carried a radar reflector and the classified Project Mogul sensors for experimental monitoring of Soviet nuclear testing. However, that bit of information wasn't known at the time. The government kind of kept the real purpose of the balloon under wraps until much later. And Project Mogul was a top-secret operation from the U.S. Army Air Forces involving microphones flown on these high-altitude balloons to try to detect long-distance sound waves generated by the Soviets' atomic bomb testing, because we all had to find out who had the nukes. So a man named William Brazel or Brazel, I don't know. He was a foreman working on the J.B. Foster Ranch, and he noticed some cluster of debris about 30 miles north of Roswell, New Mexico. The initial press release from the Roswell Army Airfield said that Brazel found the debris early in July. However, there were some discrepancies along that. Brazel himself said that it happened 3 weeks prior to the initial press release, while in the press release it only said a week prior. So already we're getting into some discrepancy between information. Brazel told the Roswell Daily Record that he and his sons saw a large area of wreckage made up of specifically rubber strips, tinfoil, tough paper, and sticks. He didn't pay much attention to it at first, he said, but then later returned with his son, wife, and daughter to pick up the material. And this is again where some discrepancy comes in. Some accounts say that he immediately gathered up all the materials and hid them in nearby bush. And others say that he immediately called the sheriff. Some say that he waited, didn't really take much notice to it at first. There was like 4 or 5 different stories about this detail. So I'm like, I'll include the first one I hear and then we'll dot in the rest.
Yeah. Whenever there's discrepancies like that, I'm like, that definitely happened. That's a factual event.
Yeah.
When there's discrepancies like that. Sure.
Some other accounts say that when he finally told the sheriff of what he found, he called the sheriff because there had been talk in the news about flying discs, which were flying saucers, if you will. Some accounts say that he told the sheriff in a whispering, confidential way that he may have found a flying disc like he's heard on the news. Other reports say that he waited 2 days. Some said that he waited 1 day. Again, we don't really know for sure when the first contact to the sheriff was. After he was notified, the Sheriff Wilcox called Roswell Army Airfield's Major Jesse Marshall, who then brought in Lieutenant Colonel Sheridan Cavett and Master Sergeant Bill Rickett to the ranch, where they collected more pieces of whatever this was, this balloon, flying disc, what have you. On July 8th, the Roswell Airfield's Public Information Officer, Walter Hoot, issued a press release stating that the personnel from the field's 509th Operations Group had recovered a flying disc. So, it was a balloon. It was. Mm-hmm. But this guy, the Public Information Officer, told the press that, yes, it was a flying disc. That's what we found.
Okay.
I feel like if you're in the Army, you know what your balloons look like. You should.
You would imagine that would be the case.
So the fact that he came out and was like, yeah, no, we definitely found a flying disc.
Right.
What?
So are you lying, or are you just wrong? Or not smart?
I have a newspaper clipping from one of the press releases, and it's kind of intriguing. It reads, this was from July 9th, by the way, 1947.
So a day later.
A day later.
Okay.
And this is part of the Daily Record report. The balloon which held it up, speaking of the flying disc, if that's how it worked, must have been 12 feet long. Brazel felt, measuring the distance between the size of the room in which he sat. The rubber was a smoky gray in color and scattered over an area about 200 yards in diameter. When the debris was gathered up, the tinfoil, paper, tape, and sticks made a bundle about 3 feet long and 7 or 8 inches high, while the rubber made a bundle about 18 or 20 inches long and about 18 inches thick. In all, he estimated the entire lot would have weighed maybe 5 pounds. There was no sign of any metal in the area, which might have been used for an engine, and no sign of any propellers of any kind, although at least one paper fin had been glued onto some of the tinfoil. There were no words to be found anywhere on the instrument, although there were letters on some of the parts. Considerable Scotch tape and some tape with flowers printed upon it had been used in the construction. No strings or wires were to be found, but there are some eyelets in the paper to indicate that some sort of attachment may have been used. Yeah.
It just sounds like an arts and crafts project.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, especially with like the specific like Scotch tape and the flowers.
Yeah.
Like, why is that on a military balloon?
I don't think that it would be.
No.
But I also don't think it would be on an alien aircraft either.
No, I don't think they decorate with Scotch tape and flowers.
And tinfoil.
And tinfoil on their flying saucers.
No. Mm-mm.
Although, that would be kind of interesting to find out.
Yeah.
So the next day, the press reported that the General Ramey, I don't know how to pronounce any of these names, had come forward to declare that the object was simply a weather balloon. That's what it was. It was a weather balloon.
Okay.
And shortly after that, most of the craze kind of died down. Mm-hmm. I want to point out that he said a weather balloon and not a military balloon. Mm-hmm. Because, again, later it was confirmed that it was a military balloon with these special sensors to detect nuclear activity. They kept that hidden until, like, 1994.
Yep.
Which I thought wasn't, like, I don't...
That's a big chunk of time.
It's a big chunk of time.
Secrets.
And I don't know why you would keep that a secret.
But also, if it's a military balloon... Why is there Scotch tape on it?
And flowers.
And flowers.
And why is it so small?
And yeah, and like seemingly thrown together. I don't really think it's an alien aircraft either, but I don't know. It seems very unlikely that it would be a military thing also, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the pile of debris, Scotch tape and tinfoil, that ended up being moved to like Fort Wayne and to another place, and there were so many people that got involved to confirm like, yes, this is a weather balloon, or no, that's definitely a flying disc. Like I said, there is so much information about this thing, this pile of craft, whatever it is. We're just going back to the basics. So like I said, after that, the craze kind of died down a little bit. But during 1978 to about 1990, UFO researchers such as Stanton T. Friedman, William Moore, Carl T. P. Flock, and the team of Kevin D. Randall and Donald R. Schmidt spent time interviewing hundreds of people who claimed to have been involved with the original events in Roswell in 1947. And And a bunch of documents were obtained via the Freedom of Information Act. And this is where things get just weird, I'd say. Because after these guys, these UFO researchers gather all these things and talk to all these people, they then got together and published a bunch of books and articles and theories that was published that basically said at least one alien spacecraft was recovered at Roswell, along with alien bodies that the government had been hiding. Which, I want to know where they got that info.
Right.
Because the original dude, William Brazel, never said anything about bodies.
Right.
And he was the one that found it and cleaned up the rubble.
There's more on that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't released until 1994 that the balloon was in fact from Project Mogul, and it was used to detect Soviet bomb testing. It seems kind of cheap to be detecting bomb
Yeah,
testing,
I would agree with that.
especially in 1947.
You would think that there would be some kind of electronics.
Well, yeah, because the Project
More
Mogul...
electronics.
Yeah, Project Mogul was sending microphones up on these balloons to try to detect sound waves.
With Scotch tape and tinfoil.
And paper.
It just doesn't compute for me.
No, not at all.
This whole thing doesn't really compute for me, to be honest with you. So to kind of spitball off of what you said, you mentioned William Moore. He and Charles Berlitz published a book in 1980 that basically said that the whole thing was a cover-up.
Of course.
And they were very deep into the conspiracy theory of a government cover-up, as was everybody else. They said that it was definitely a flying saucer.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Definitely a flying saucer. And that the government hastily substituted the flying saucer for the
This
bits and
pile
pieces of rubble, essentially.
So then William Brazel would have had to be in on it too.
Yeah, probably. I feel like, did he profit?
I don't know.
Because if he profited, that would be like a grand scheme of
Yeah. I'll have to look that up.
making
just for my own
some money.
curiosity.
Yeah. I also found, this is a little fun fact.
I love fun facts.
In 1984, documents surfaced that were alleged to be classified memos concerning Majestic 12. And Majestic 12 was a secret operation launched by President Harry S. Truman to, quote-unquote, handle the Roswell incident. And it didn't elaborate there. It just said, handle it. I assume just squash it, let's get people to stop talking about it.
Probably.
But those documents were later determined to be completely fake, and there was no evidence to support the existence of Majestic 12 as a secret operation to hush Roswell.
Plot twist. I am a secret agent for the government.
Me too.
On a paranormal podcast to try to
debunk all the government conspiracies. It's fine. And then I didn't really know about the alien autopsy. You knew. I don't know anything about aliens, admittedly.
I just watch a lot of weird YouTube. So
I used to. I don't so much anymore. But I didn't know that there was an alien autopsy attached to Roswell.
Kinda.
They're commonly grouped together, I guess, but I could not find a connection between the two.
Because there really isn't.
It was kind of like, hey, we found this flying saucer, but now there's aliens too.
Well, if you find a flying saucer, you have to find alien bodies.
Right. So I wish I had a connection for you, like, hey, they found this in this place, and the flying saucer was also there, and that's why it's connected, but I couldn't find that.
No, it's really just because people wanted there to be alien bodies. And so that kind of started this whole snowball effect of all of these things.
Yeah. So there was a video supposedly filmed in 1947.
Yes.
And it was supposed to show the medical examination and autopsy of an alien life form. Filmed in 1947. So filmed right after we find the flying saucer.
Yeah.
So you're probably thinking, we didn't hear anything about an alien autopsy in 1947 or any year after that.
No.
Really.
No.
We really didn't hear about the autopsy until the beginning of the 90s.
It's a long time.
Like early mid-90s. Just like that, 50 years later, it's just like not adding up.
And that was after all of these UFO researchers published
all of their things.
All the things that included that the government had alien bodies.
Weird. So a guy named Ray Santilli, he's a London-based entrepreneur, or was, I assume was. I don't know if he's still alive. A London-based entrepreneur supposedly viewed the autopsy footage from the Roswell incident. Okay. Mm-hmm. But he said that he saw it in 1992. Okay.
Okay.
Now, it was a 17-minute black and white film depicting the examination of the alien by the U.S. military. But Santilli said that it was given to him by a retired military cameraman who insisted on being anonymous. Which, duh. Because if you're making that kind of footage...
Yeah.
First off, like, treason, right? That's treason.
Maybe, yeah.
So, okay. Santilli released footage in 1995 of the alien autopsy. Allegedly. But in 2006, he did admit that the film was not authentic.
No, not authentic.
Yeah, and it was actually...
No way.
Yeah, right. I know, we're shocked. And it was actually a staged reconstruction of the footage he claimed to have viewed in 1992. So he recreated it. But he said the footage that he had from the original, the one that was filmed in 1947, had become so deteriorated and unusable by the time he wanted to bring it up that he just had to recreate it.
Why would you recreate it?
Right.
Like, why go through all the effort? Because he
put some effort in.
He put a lot of effort in. Why?
Right. He does claim that there's a few frames from the original embedded into his recreation.
Okay.
Of the film. But he doesn't share which frames.
Well, of course not.
If there's any. So the film shows men in white coats dissecting an alien. That's what you do on an autopsy, or basically just cut them open and checking stuff out.
Weighing organs.
Right. So the men, Santilli and I think 3 or 4 other people, purchased 1940s surgeon outfits and medical equipment to wear during their filming. They used cow and lamb organs from a butcher to represent body parts of the extraterrestrial. And they used raspberry jelly they were going to use raspberry jelly to resemble the brain, but it was too dark.
Well, and not solid.
Well, that, and also how would you know that it's too dark? How do you know it's too dark to resemble alien
Well, black
brains?
and white film,
I guess.
It would look a few shades too dark.
But we'll get there.
Okay.
So Santilli used 16mm film that was spliced with an original Path newsreel. I think Path is a brand. Of a 1947 college baseball match in Roswell to convince experts that it was real. If you're just in the interest of recreating,
right,
why are we putting so much effort into lying about it?
Right.
Just interesting. There was a man named Gareth Watson who played the doctor in the fake footage.
The doctor.
And he was shown the original footage of the original alien autopsy. But it was so destroyed that he said that he could have been looking at a Yeti. It was so, when he saw it, it was so destroyed, torn apart, eroded probably, that he could have been looking at anything.
So was this film kept outside for 50 years?
Somewhere, exposed to the elements, maybe it just wasn't stored properly and it just screwed up. I don't know. But he said he could have been looking at a Yeti.
But you're going to go along with it anyway.
I'm sure he got paid for it. He goes on to say, the Gareth guy, he goes on to say, referencing Santilli and another man who worked on the film, that they decided it was not of commercial value in its current state. The original was not of its commercial value. That's why they...
Does it need to be commercial value?
Literally, I wrote, Which makes me wonder, why do we need commercial value
of an alien autopsy?
If we are simply just so happy to find something that points to aliens, why are we interested in commercial value when we should be interested in exposing the truth?
Yeah, you just found a footage of an alien autopsy.
Right.
Why are we immediately thinking of commercial value?
Right. Well, as a result, Santilli did reportedly make a decent chunk of money from the recreation.
Oh.
So.
How shocking.
it's a little interesting. I don't know. But the film is not real. The film that is seen now, I guess. I don't know how many people see it. I tried to look up on YouTube and I didn't see like the 1995 version of it or anything, but it's a lie. So I also have kind of what the government comes out and says. You had a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But I have a little bit more, and I think that's like, it's what ties the aliens to the flying saucer UFO crash type of thing.
Because right now we're pretty disjointed. I mean, the whole thing's disjointed.
It's still disjointed, but this like was just made me go, oh, okay, I see it.
Okay.
So in 1997, a definitive Air Force report called the Roswell Report Case Closed ventured the opinion that stories of alien bodies may have come from civilian witnesses who saw parachute crash test dummies, a severely injured airman parachutist. Almost
what a fun word.
And charred bodies from an airplane crash during the 1950s. The report proposed that the witnesses consolidated, that's their word, the separate events, the Project Mogul materials, the crash test dummies, the airmen, and the charred bodies in their memories. Just kind of put it all together because it wasn't within a few years of each other. So for many ufologists, however, these explanations were seen as part of a continued cover-up by the U.S. government. But the U.S. government insists that there's no evidence of any kind of life form found in the Roswell area in connection to the reported UFO sighting.
Do I think the government is covering up aliens?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Did they do it here? Probably not.
Right.
They probably have some weird information that they're not sharing, but the whole alien autopsy thing and the flying saucer... Are we even sure it was a military balloon? It had flowers and Scotch tape on it.
Right. I also have a little bit of a witness account. So several people claim to have seen debris scattered over a wide area. One person reported to see a blazing aircraft in the sky shortly before it crashed. Okay.
Here's the thing. That our Scotch tape and sticks isn't a blazing aircraft.
It's not a blazing aircraft. A former mortician, Glenn Dennis.
Who chooses that? That's my question.
People do it. People like want to be morticians. There's got to be some.
If I had a stronger stomach, that's absolutely a job that I would do. Just for the record.
Not me. So Glenn Dennis claimed in 1989 that a friend of his worked as a nurse at the Roswell Army Airfield, and she had accidentally, I assume she, it doesn't say, I don't know, 1989, probably a she. Accidentally walked into an examination room where doctors were bent over the bodies of 3 creatures, quote unquote creatures.
How do you accidentally walk into an autopsy?
I don't know.
They have live, I want to say theater, but that's what they call it in the UK. I watch too much UK television. But like surgery in progress signs, or you can't just walk into surgical rooms.
Autopsies happen like in the morgue? Or like in a room adjacent to the morgue or something.
Yeah. Like they don't happen to be fair, they don't happen in surgery rooms, I'm assuming.
I don't know. I don't think so, though. But she walked in, 3 creatures, and they resembled humans, but they had small bodies, spindly arms, and giant bald heads. Okay. So
it was Uncle Fester.
Well, yes. So we talked about this a little bit like before we were recording, and I'm like, a crash test dummy is probably going to be bald. I'm assuming they're not putting hair on crash test dummies.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think it's a stretch. So interesting. somebody having a small body and a bald head doesn't necessarily mean anything. And spindly arms.
And I don't think that's what aliens look like.
No.
They either look very similar to us, more similar than that.
Right.
Or they're like...
completely...
four-legged, four-tongued...
scaled something.
With fur on the tail.
Right.
Like sentient beings.
I don't think that they're going to be almost exactly like us, but with like... I just don't... Not with giant bald heads and like 3 fingers or something. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that that's... I just have a really hard time believing that.
Yeah.
But the whole thing at Roswell started a phenomenon known as the Roswellian syndrome.
This I don't know anything about, and I'm really excited to hear about it.
It's basically... It's just like a step-by-step. It's kind of like the 5 stages of grief, but it's more like the, I think, 5 stages of myth-making.
Oh, perfect.
So we're going to jump in. Joe Nickel, who's the resident skeptic we always talk about.
Yeah.
Him. He always somehow inserts himself into everything spooky, paranormal, or mysterious.
It's like his life goal. It's kind of like when we talk about older cases, Whitland, Harry Houdini.
Yep.
He's always in them. Always.
Yep. And then Joe Nickel.
Yep.
I will not forget his name because he pops up so much. So he created this myth-making process with James McGaha.
McGaha?
I'm assuming that's how you say it. So in this syndrome, a myth is proposed to have 5 distinct stages of development. So the first stage of development is incident. So in Roswell, the initial incident and its reporting. Okay. There's debunking. That's step 2. That's after the initial reports of Roswell, the mysterious object was identified as a weather balloon and later confirmed to be a balloon array. It's the word that they used, a balloon array from Project Mogul, which had gone missing in flight. Step 3 is submergence. So even though the news story ended with the identification of the balloon, the event lingered on in the, quote, fading and recreative memories of some of those involved, unquote.
That sounds... very poetic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Rumor and speculation simmered around Roswell. This resulted in ufologists coming and asking leading questions, of course, in order to spin their tale of crashed flying saucers and government conspiracies. Step 4, mythologizing. This is when the stories kept spinning out of control and developed deeper into more elaborate explanations for the balloon. The mythologizing process included exaggeration, faulty memory, folklore, and deliberate hoaxing. Santilli, it's fine. However, the deliberate hoaxing was usually self-serving, with some kind of personal gain or promotion, such as the promotion of the 1950 sci-fi movie Flying Saucer, and also the personal gain of Santilli, who made up an entire video.
You know what this reminds me of? And it took me a minute to figure... I'm like staring at you trying to figure out what this was from. Do you remember... I haven't seen Monsters, Inc. in a really long time. But do you remember when Mike and his girlfriend, Medusa Chick...
Yeah.
Were going to dinner, and something... I don't know what happens. Like, the kid gets loose in the thing, and the one thing was like, it was like an animal! The roof was on fire! Everyone had a different story about what happened, and they were all like, this is definitely what happened. It was a monster. It was crazy. Blah, blah, blah. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, and if you hear it enough, it's just going to, like, just fit its way into the story. The final step is the bandwagon effect. And we all know what it means to hop on the bandwagon. I guess if you don't. Do people say that in every country?
Midwestern?
Is it well, first off, is it Midwestern? Is it just an American thing? Okay, hopping on the bandwagon. This is how I'm going to choose to define it. Let me know if this is wrong.
Okay.
Society becomes infatuated with something.
Yeah.
And because people do that, like, it just turns into, like, this, like, snowball effect of, like, everyone else becoming enthralled by that thing.
Yeah, like TikTok dances.
Oh, my God. I know. I've never done a TikTok dance.
I don't watch TikTok dances, and I've never done a TikTok dance.
I've never done a TikTok dance. But basically, it's just, like, everyone is so enthralled by this thing. It's the popular thing to do. And because it's so popular, you're like, ooh, I'm going to do that, too. Or I'm going to think that thing is cool or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a really good way to describe it, I think.
That's the only way I could think of describing it. I didn't Google it. I just, like, made it up. I don't know. So that was perpetrated by the publications of the books, such as The Roswell Incident by Berlitz and Moore, and a vast variety of television shows and other media coverage that further supported the idea that the UFO crash story and resulting conspiracy beliefs were, in fact, true. So, I don't know.
Here we are.
I do know. I think Roswellian syndrome, I think that's a great way to describe how people just, like, become, like, super
they blow everything out of
fascinated by big, outlandish stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when it comes to aliens.
Yeah. But really, UFOs, there's like a UFO sighting like every other day. Yeah. Everywhere, pretty much.
Which, do I think that people actually see them? Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But you can, like, I think, I was talking to Austin's dad about this, my husband's dad, and he believes in aliens too. I fully believe in aliens. Mm-hmm. If conditions were so perfect on Earth for us to evolve, it has to have happened elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Has to have. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking, and he's like, I think the few crazies that wear the tinfoil hats and, you know, sit up on the roofs of the radio transmitter, I think they give the people a bad rap who actually want to find out if there's aliens and want to try to research in a way that makes the most sense without sitting on your roof with a tinfoil hat and a radio transmitter.
I think the world, not even the world, the universe, the multiple universes, the galaxy, like we're just part of a galaxy.
We're a speck of fucking dust, guys.
There's a video on YouTube, and I have no idea what it's called now, but basically it's long. It's a long video, and it starts like on Earth, and then like slowly zooms out.
Yeah, we watched that in science class in high school.
It zooms out forever, and I mean, like the amount, like there's like multiple universes. Like it's like the existence in general is so massive that there's just no way that there's not aliens. Mm-mm. There's just sorry. Even in our solar system, there's just no way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Humans on Earth adapted to the environment that we have. You can't tell me there's not some form of creature or something on a different planet that adapted to live there.
Right. Well, and if you believe in like the evolution theory, if the Big Bang or one spark could snowball effect to us sitting right here,
you can't tell me
isn't
there's
that a weird thing to think about?
You can't tell me there's not two more of us sitting in a basement somewhere else.
Not even the basement. Probably it's an upstairs bedroom.
Who knows? Just in a different world.
And I might be really skinny and hot. And you know what? We gotta find that dimension.
We're already hot in this one. Joke. But it's fine. But as far as Roswell goes,
I'm really skeptical.
I'm very skeptical. I understand how it kind of like was the beginning of everything.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some information that we don't have. Or because I'm sure, like I said, guys, this case is massive. And if we read all the books about it and whatever, we could like have a bigger opinion on it. But I think just like the bare minimum, is there stuff the government might be hiding about it? Maybe, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't think a bald-headed alien with buggy eyes came from a pile of sticks and tough paper.
No.
With Scotch tape.
No. Me either. It doesn't add up for me.
No, it doesn't add up. Mm-mm. But we wanted to kick off aliens, the massive topic of aliens, with what most people think about being the beginning.
Sure.
Because like I said in the beginning, when I think Roswell, or when I think aliens, Roswell's it all started with Roswell. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
When I think aliens, I think of those, do you remember those like lights? I don't remember what city they were over now, but it was like triangles.
I think it was in Arizona.
Or something, and they were just like moving all. That's what I think of when people.
They did it on Fact or Fiction, that really old show. I love that show, and it was only on for a short amount of time, but I love that show. And like we said, we mentioned the Paulding Lights up in the UP of Michigan, and we are so freaking excited to go this summer. And we're literally, guys, we're gonna bring a tent, and we're just gonna go pop a squat in the woods to find aliens, or Bigfoot, whatever finds us first.
I would live to find Bigfoot because like my dad
or the chupacabra or Mothman.
What is that? Not Finding Sasquatch.
Finding Bigfoot.
Is that the show?
I think that's what my dad watches it.
My dad used to watch it all the time, and like I just there's got to be some basis of truth in every
tall tale.
Not mythological, but you know what I'm saying? Like
cryptozoology, cryptid.
Right. There has to be some ounce of truth. Otherwise, how are we making them all up? I just, I think it's real. I think Bigfoot's real. That's a whole other topic of discussion, but I'd be down to find some Bigfoot up there if we don't find aliens.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. If there's anything about aliens or any one incident of aliens that you want us to cover, let us know. You can reach out to us on any of our social media sites. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Sunday Night Spookies, and we are on Twitter at Sunday Night Spookies.
We also have some links in our description, one for Buzzsprout. That's the hosting website that we do our podcast from. Amazing website. Everything we need is on one website. Keeps track of everything, views, monetization, everything. And if you use our link, you can get an Amazon gift card for using our link. We also have a link for Instacart. I say it every week. I hate grocery shopping. And you should too in a pandemic.
Yes.
But if you use our link, you get your first delivery free, like delivery fee free on an order of $30 or more. Both of these things are available without our links. We do get a small kickback if you use our links, but you can just Google them and find them without our links. We also have a Cash App link for support the show. We're two broke college girls who love adventure and trying to find Bigfoot in the woods.
And love making content.
Right. So if you are feeling humble and you want to donate to the cause, if there's a specific topic or a location you want us to visit, you can throw a little bit of something our way, and all of the donations we get go right back into the podcast, equipment, location, fees, everything to give you guys better content.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sunday Night Spookies.
Join us next week for our episode about urban legends.
New episodes are released every Sunday evening. Thanks so much for listening, and as always,
stay spooky.